All right. Welcome. Hey, how's everyone doing today? Anyone saying hello in chat? We have the one, the only Menemy with us today. And we're
What's up,
gonna
guys?
change it up.
How's it going? Let's see, did I do my hair? I did my hair. Okay, good. We're good. I couldn't remember if I put my hair back or not, and then it would have annoyed me later and all that stuff. So yeah, by way of intro, thank you, Ninja, for doing this with me.
Sure.
I'm Meta Me. Most people just call me Meta. I occasionally say my first name on stream out of frustration. And I've been in software development for, I don't know, about 10 years or so. I do not have a CS degree. I have an unfinished graduate degree in, um, what is it called? Oh yeah, philosophy. So yeah, not too related to CS actually. Um, but anyway, yeah, and most of that time I've been just your typical functional programming stan, and the last 5 years I've written Clojure a lot. I've known about Nix for a long time. The last year or so I've been really into Rust. I stream Rust pretty often. I've done quite a bit with Rust, and I was pretty unhappy with my Nix builds, and that's why I asked Ninja if we could look at how to make better Nix builds for Rust. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah. So that's a good kind of explanation of kind of what we're gonna get up to today. So there's a cool project called Crane, and its whole goal is to provide incremental builds by kind of caching your dependencies in the Nix store, and then when you do that, you can really like use that to speed up your builds because most of your dependencies are already cached in the Nix store. So that first build very slow. After that, not as bad as normally building Nix, like with or Rust projects with Nix.
Got it.
So
So
that's hope.
maybe, yeah, so maybe that highlights like one of the first learnings, if you will, for me. Let's see. Can I get my laundry out of the screen? Can I do that? I don't know if that's any better. But anyway, it's not the most important thing. The the learning was not about my laundry in this case. The learning was about like why my Nix build is so slow compared to just using cargo build. And we can share my terminal and just show the difference of where we're at right now, and then see
Yep.
where we get to for just like a pretty darn simple Rust project.
Hmm.
Is basically what you're saying is we're not even caching the build of all of the dependencies for my Rust project right now. Like, is it rebuilding all those dependencies every time I hit Nix build?
Yeah. So from my understanding, and roughly like what I've seen is that when you do a Nix build, it kind of like lumps all of that dependency part into one step. So when we do it with Crane, what it's going to do is how you see like on every step in a cargo build where it's going to compile every dependency. What it's
Yeah.
going to do is it's going to cache those compilations in your Nix store and then use
Hmm.
that instead. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, and this is kind of from a like a testing perspective as well. It'll also help with your when you do like cargo test, or if you're doing any of the like cargo audit is another one. I can't
Hmm.
remember which one that is, but like it'll help you with that as well, where you can kind of have that saved between your builds, so that way it kind of just you have that the each basically you'll see when we do a build, you'll see each dependency gets like its own path in the Nix store, and then that
Mm.
way you get that kind of incremental compilation that you get with Rust, but
Yeah.
you're going to do it on on the the Nix side as well.
Sweet.
Um,
Okay. That
yeah.
sounds pretty good. Um, I don't know if you introduced yourself, Ninja.
Oh
I know
yeah,
this is
yeah.
your
I guess I
stream,
probably
but
should.
why
Yeah,
don't
for
we?
those
Why
of you
don't
who are,
you tell me what you do? Because I always forget.
yeah, it's kind of a weird one to be honest. So I do not have a CS3. I have a degree in computer engineering. Um, I did a lot of stuff so primarily in that degree, I did a lot of embedded systems. So that was like what I got my start in, was like low level programming and embedded systems and some kernel dev stuff as well. I did that for a little bit, and then I left and I did IT for a while. That's kind of like what I got my start in the tech industry, was like I was doing IT stuff for my university, and then I went and did it for electronic health records for a while.
Got it.
Um, then I went
Like
and worked in
sysadmin-y stuff, or like working in the
yeah,
IT department of a university or a company or whatever?
yeah. So I worked like during school. I worked at an IT company, actually
Mhm.
doing like I was like I worked help desk. So like
Got
people,
it.
they would call
Yeah.
in and whatever. I did that for a while. Then I left and I did when I did IT for electronic health records. That was a little different. That one was implementation IT. So I would
Mm.
sit there and basically you'd have a hospital and then like maybe like another hospital or a clinic or something, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we want to connect our health records together, but maybe they use different systems or something like that," which is kind of a complicated problem. So we would
Yeah.
help to broker that communication between the two, and then kind of set up the connections between the different health record systems to kind of do that, it was fun, but I wasn't writing a lot of code, so I kind of left and did I was working like as a basically like a contractor kind of consulting type work. I did that for a while, and that was primarily in Go. I did that, and then now I'm a research software engineer, and that's kind of a weird title. Like I feel like a lot of people, you say that and
Research.
they're like,
It's impressive. I mean, it's an impressive title. I wish I had that title.
I think it
Um,
sounds cooler than
it
like
sounds
what it
cool.
is.
It sounds
Yeah.
cool.
Um, I mean, it's cool. I love my job. But basically, like research software engineer is kind of a blanket term for people that are working in some sort of research capacity and doing software engineering. So for me, I work for the Open Molecular Software Foundation, and they basically are an open source organization. So they're a
Mm.
nonprofit that's trying to build open source molecular software. So that's things like how would they do simulations of different proteins and ligands and like stuff in the drug design process. So that's what they do. And I am there to help build out their like self-hosted DevOps pipeline is like what
Mm.
I'm doing right now. But yeah, that's kind of what I do now. But I basically work with scientists all day. I work with them and kind of say like, okay, how do we build, like you're building all this really cool library, like they build a lot of library code, so they're
Yeah.
basically building these libraries that other scientists can use to
And what are they
yeah,
building
folding at
those
home
in?
is
Like what languages do these scientists write in?
primarily Python. We have a little
Uh,
bit of C++.
that is what I would expect. But yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So most of my work now is in Python. I went from like writing Go full time, which was great, and now I write Python full time, and I'm like, it's less great, but I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about packaging, more than
Right.
I ever wanted to know. Writing
Yeah.
Python.
It's
Yeah,
it's hard to replicate those science libraries outside of Python, and that's kind of why
yeah,
Python's the de facto, right?
right. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just that you get a good intermediary because you can do things like using like Jupyter notebooks and things like that are just very, you know, like are very they work very well in scientific communities because you have that kind of like step by step flow of using Jupyter to kind of say like, okay, we're going to do this step and we're going to do this step.
Right, right.
So you get that like more logical flow, I think,
Yeah.
which is really nice. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what Nightshade's on about. Now, I did
Oh,
finally figure out what he was talking about. Um
with your fireplace.
Yeah, I tend to take over interviews and just kind of reverse it. So now I'm just getting other people talking, but
That's fine.
um no.
That's fine with me. Oh, but
Uh,
Nightshade, talking about folding at home. So I do work with some of the people that do work for folding at home. So that's
okay, what
we actually we're doing stuff like with them. So we help to support. Not, I'm not on anything that's like working with them directly right now, but like some of my coworkers are building things that are like working on making that like more accessible to more people, which has been kind of cool.
and what is folding at home? I have no clue.
Yeah.
I'm
So
completely I'm kind of like anti-science in general. I'm just kidding. No, that was a
it's just
joke.
like, oh,
But
okay, great.
no, what does folding at home do?
Yeah, yeah. So folding at home is like it's a cool project if you ever have like any spare compute lying around. But basically, what it is
Okay.
you can do protein folding simulations. It's a distributed protein folding
Hmm.
simulation platform, and basically what it
Okay.
is you run like a daemon on your system
Hmm.
that'll run the simulation when you're not using it, and then
Got it.
that's what it does. It was really big like during COVID. They had like a lot of COVID simulations running on folding at home, and anyone can use it. So like you can install it on your machine, and they have stuff for it. And then scientists submit jobs, kind of like how you would do like in high performance computing. So you kind
Mhm.
of like say like, hey, we want to
Yeah.
run. We have this thing we're going to run. Let's
Right.
run it and go through that. And that's kind of what they do. Is they kind of just
Huh.
folding at home allows you to do that, but like distribute it and make it so it's open and it's all public.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Um, cool. Well, now I know a little bit more about what you do at least. Um,
It's a weird one for
and
sure.
yeah, no, it's helpful. And maybe I know what research software engineer does basically, which is
Yeah.
you're a software guy that works with scientists at the end of the day.
Yeah. And some of
Um,
them are scientists that
okay.
are writing software. So like
Yeah.
sometimes you might have a research software engineer that's like definitely more of a scientist than they are an engineer. But
Yeah.
they
Okay.
they 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 kind of had a change of heart and decided that they wanted to like learn how computers work. And so
Right.
that's, there's that side of it too. But
Yeah, I could
yep.
see that. And of course, a lot of those are like, I know are converging even in academia where somebody will start in the hard sciences and end up
Yeah.
just wanting to do software more than
Yep.
the actual hard sciences.
And
Um,
part part of my job is to like make that transition easier, right?
yeah.
So like you can like how do we educate people to kind of do more like when they're doing science and they're using
Hmm.
compute to do that, how do
Yeah.
we um how do we like help them like with that? How do we bring that together?
Right.
So,
I
yeah.
imagine it's like scathing PR, like code reviews, right? Like that's probably one of the most
There
important parts is to
there's
be
a lot of code.
really, really brutal.
Yeah. I think I haven't really experienced them yet. So like I said, my team is all about infrastructure. So
Okay.
our whole thing is like infrastructure as code, doing stuff like that, and building, building up pipelines. Admittedly, like most of what I do is like a lot of writing. So like I'll
Hmm.
sit down and be like, we're going to talk about how like what are best practices for writing Python? Like how do we ease that for scientists that are like, man, I've just been writing Python forever and I just write it this way. And it's like, okay, but maybe we want this thing to last in 10 years. Like
Yeah.
let's write some code to like let's write some guidelines so that you can like this code is like formatted and
Right.
linted maybe and it's going to work in like 10 years down the line because that's kind of like a big concern is like how do we have software that lasts and how do we
Right.
build open source software that lasts for a long time. So
Yeah, I could imagine that is important.
yep.
Uh, well, I mean, it's all great. It's great if we do that anyway, but like
Yeah.
especially in more like the scientific field, it feels a little bit more important than like the
Yep.
sales SaaS that I wrote last year. I don't really care if that's around in 10 years. Let's be real.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I understand.
Cool. So, let's see. How should we start this? Maybe we get the baseline of what my project is doing now,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah, let's
take a
dig
look
into it.
at Crane and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Pull it up, MetaB. Oh wait, do I have to do that? Is that something that's is that in
Let's
my
see. No, I
purview?
have to share. I just forgot to. I'm so used to auto. I even have like auto scene switching on my OBS when I stream, so I don't have to think, which is good for me.
Ooh, that's cool.
Okay. So I shared that. Let's see if we get that up on the stream here.
Yeah, share screen. Okay, I pushed it.
Cool.
Is it going to update
And
on here? Let's see.
yeah, I'll wait until the viewers at home can see it.
How did Okay, so it's pushed here. And it's because I have to say screen share. Look at that. There we go.
Are we up? Okay.
I-
Beautiful, beautiful. Uh, yeah. So Itharax says, "Feel like I'm waking up after eons and see Nix everywhere and never used it." That's so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
So I think we're both on Mac, aren't we? I'm on Mac, and I
Uh,
think, all right. Well,
I
you used both, right?
I do use both. So I stream on Linux and then I do
Hmm.
my work stuff on Mac.
Got it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll probably go Mac full time now. Like I bit the bug and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I like this a
Yeah.
lot. So we'll see.
Nice. We'll see what happens. It's the
Yep.
M3 stuff, right? I mean, that's
Yep.
kind of what sold you
Yep.
M series chips.
Yeah. Yeah. The M series chips are kind of what we're like, yeah, the performance is nice. Like the battery life is insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do use Nix on Mac OS. Yeah. Kind of like how MetaB is doing here. Like,
Right.
you can use it to replace like most of Homebrew and MacPort and all that.
Yeah. So maybe that's worth also talking about real quick, just for
Sure.
people who don't know, like why are we using Nix? And you've used Nix longer than I have. I just happen to stream Nix kind of often,
Sure.
and we did the whole Nix at night thing. So maybe you're more qualified to answer this question than I am. But like why do we use Nix? Um and what is Nix, and
Sure.
in short.
Yes. So why do you use Nix? I'm curious about this. I mean, I know you've
Um,
streamed it, but
I'm a boomer and I just needed content and I don't know what. I'm just kidding. No, the the real reason is, so being in functional programming communities, of course, like Nix is just like always there next to you,
Mhm.
um, and it's just like, oh yeah, I use Nix for this and blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, so I've known about Nix, I don't know, probably for 7 years or so, like a while, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm so young. No, my chat says I'm an old man, but I'm actually only 38. I'm a young kid. But so, you know, part of the context is that we were in another stream together, Thrak and I chatting, and I said my first home computer was a TI 89, no,
Nice.
TI 99, which
Nice.
was like the first home computer basically sold in like 1980 or something like that. So anyway, but I wasn't born till 85. So, I did that was my first home computer, but it was bought quite a bit before I was born. Um anyway, okay, random aside. Yes, I have ADHD if it's not obviously if it's not too obvious. But yeah, so the reason I wanted to use Nix is actually twofold. One was that I started using OCaml. And uh, for those of you who don't know, OPAM is painful, which is the OCaml package manager. The build tool, Dune, is great. It actually does a good job. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I have no problems with Dune in general, but the package manager is painful. So I wanted the ability to not use OPAM. So that was like one goal of me switching to Nix recently. The other goal was that, like, Homebrew, it works when it works, but it's not the most stable, what's the right word? Reliable build system. it can it can really screw some things up, and sometimes it's hard to know in which ways it has screwed it up. And Nick's the Nick story of having these deterministic, reproducible builds, and the fact that I could, with also me probably switching companies. See, this is a long fucking answer, but like, in this year is like I want my dev environment to be really easy to use on another system. And I also want dumb things that slow down my system, like global Java installs that I need for work, to not be global anymore
Mhm.
and to just be for the project that they are for. And that's more like the dev shell story of Nix. So that's definitely that's kind of my threefold answer in some ways is OCaml, um, global dev environment, just easier to port, and having dev shells for different projects.
That's um, my story is very similar. Um, I picked up Nix and I was like getting really into it, and then I kind of got into trying out OCaml, and OPAM is kind of what stopped me. So
Hmm.
I I still don't know if I quite understand what a switch is in OPAM.
Oh, you don't
Eh,
want to. It's better if you just don't. You
yeah,
know.
it is it kind of like a virtual environment, like from Python, or
Yes, yes and no. Yeah, essentially yes. Um, in that because the OCaml compiler is the global and
mhm,
it's not relocatable. It doesn't have any of those kinds of things. And the way OPAM works is it installs packages on a global level. I mean, a lot of package managers do that, right? Is
right?
in the sense that they have a package over here. What's different about the way that OPAM does it is that in general, as far as I know, again, I'm probably only a couple months into to OCaml. I don't know how long it's been now. I lose track of time. But you pretty much Haskell's similar to this. You have a single version of a package installed at all times.
Okay.
And so the way to get around that is by using OPAM switch.
Hmm.
And that allows you and what I mean by that is if you need version 5 of a library for project A and you need version 6 for project B, you just create a switch for the two projects, and then it switches which global store of packages it's going to use. That's my understanding of OPAM switches.
Oh, so it's like a Nix switch almost, like when you do like a Darwin rebuild switch, like it's kind of the same process where
Yeah,
you're
I never
building a
really
new
thought of it
store
that
of
way.
package.
But yeah, I guess you could compare it. Antonio would probably tell me I'm wrong, but yeah, you could
Fair enough.
compare
Fair enough.
it.
No, it's I don't know because it's kind of confusing. Like to me, the packaging story I think was always really hard for me with OCaml, and it's
Yeah,
like really I don't know it's so here's my thing. Like there's some languages that I like to write if I don't have to pull in a dependency.
yeah.
So like
Oh, that's
Zig
so
was
true.
that way for a
Yeah,
while. OCaml is another one. Like if I don't have to pull any dependencies, it's great. Except for the fact that there's definitely some standard library functions that I would really like to have that
right.
are missing that I
Yeah.
need to pull in a dependency for to use OCaml. Um, and yeah, I just
I mean, I will just
never got that.
say there's probably only a couple ecosystems where the majority of professional uh, software engineers in those ecosystems use Nix, and
Mhm.
that's pretty much going to be Haskell and OCaml.
Fair enough.
And there's good reasons for that. I mean,
Mhm.
the Haskell side, they have some better stories around package management than I
Yeah.
would say OPAM does. Um, but it's been a while since I've used Haskell, so I don't remember the specifics. But at the same, but Haskell people like all the things that Nix gives you, right? I mean, it's
Right.
functional, it's pure, deterministic, all that good stuff.
Right.
OCaml people, I think for the most part, it's it's mainly because Nix just works so much better and
Mhm.
as a package manager than OPAM does that you find a lot of people that write OCaml professionally use Nix.
How is that Nix volume created? Oh, and on Nix Darwin. Like if you're installing on a Mac.
I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
couldn't
know.
tell you.
Yeah,
I'm new to
I
the
don't have
whole
details.
Nix Darwin thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
installed it on my system and because BG from Alt F4 stream, by the way, told me to. So no,
yeah,
I mean he did walk me through the whole process, and I was just like, well, I hope this doesn't screw everything up,
yep,
and so far it hasn't. Not,
that's fair.
fingers crossed, right?
Um,
Um,
it's
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to what I was saying. I was like, why do I use Nix? Um,
Right.
I'll say it. BG also same thing for me. We didn't stream together, but I watched him for a long time, and I was just
Yeah.
really into talking to him about like what about Nix and why do I like using it, and it just came down to this thing of like, man, it would be so nice if I could have these different versions of different packages depending on my directory, and so like Durand was a big thing for me. I was like,
Yeah.
that's it
Durham
is
is pretty nice.
yeah. For me, it was less about build and more about package management. Like really what I wanted is I was like,
Sure.
I wanted to like abstract away my dot files. Like I hated this thing of like, oh, I'm gonna write an Ansible playbook or I'm gonna write a bash script to install everything. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We have technology to make this so I don't have to write this by hand. And so I
Yeah,
think Nix kind of
definitely.
came into play of like that. And I was doing that on like a single user install of Nix on Linux. So it was just Home Manager, um, which is nice because that means I don't have to use like any global Nix stuff. It's like sudo list Nix. I eventually broke that, but that's how I started. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I got into, was using Home Manager and like going through that process.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, for me, like obviously there's some other module files that enable this, but it's
Mhm.
like my entire global dev environment is literally just this file for the most part, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, yeah, if I want to see, okay, did I install this via brew? Let me run brew ls. Like sometimes it takes a really long time on my system,
mhm,
even just to run brew ls for brew to tell me what packages it's even installed.
yeah,
With Nix, it's literally just here's the file. It has all of my packages listed. I know where everything's coming from. It's really easy to add stuff to. It's pretty nice. Like obviously, I have some special Git config that I decided to port into Nix instead of have it in a file, and then
yeah.
that way that's also portable to other systems too.
That's
And
fair.
then of course, like the other big thing is why am I there we go. That this config is most likely, I haven't tried it, but this config that I have is very close to what the config would be on Linux as well. So you recently
Mhm.
switched from Linux to Mac. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you wrote a brand new fresh config or if you kind of reused some of your next config.
So the big thing was the biggest difference is like when you run Home Manager standalone and you're not using it as like a NixOS module or a Darwin module. What happens is you get this weird thing where like you can I had broken out my config into multiple files, and one thing you
Hmm.
can do is you can like just provide if standalone Home Manager, you can just provide a list of files that you want to use. So you can just say like, oh, here's 8 files, and they all can be Home Manager files, and they can just work that way. And so what I did is I broke up everything that way, but I haven't found a way to really do that well on Darwin. And so like I
Mm,
had to change that. And then also the other thing is like with Darwin on Nix, right? Like with Nix Darwin, you have also system config stuff where like I didn't have any of that when I was doing it on Linux because I was leaving that up to like the host. Um,
right.
so because I'm running on Pop OS and then using Nix on
Mm,
top of that. So like because of that, it kind of led to this thing where I was like, all right, well, I have all of this Nix stuff, but like I don't it doesn't manage any system things. It doesn't do any of
yeah.
that. And so because of that, that was a little different, but like most of it I could reuse. There was very few changes I had to do. Admittedly, the hard part was just like getting used to using Darwin and like the
Yeah,
things that come
because you
with
can't
that.
just use the normal Nix stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But that I mean, even then, like once you get to like a point where you have flakes installed, then you can pretty much use all the normal Nix stuff and then it all kind of works the same. But
Yeah.
it was kind of a bit of a like, what am I doing right now? Am I going to break everything on this brand new machine I got? I hope
Yeah.
not. Especially
Right.
like how Ithrek was saying, like it creates a volume, and you're like, yeah, sure, oh, yeah, that works. Um, but one thing I will say, like one of the other reasons why I do use Nix, and maybe we can touch a little bit on this as well, is there's a cool project called Hercules CI. Have you
Mhm.
Have you heard about this one?
I feel like I have, but I'm
So
you talk about it.
it's a self-hosted CI runner.
Okay.
And basically what it is it does Nix builds for you. So
Mm,
you deploy it on Nix OS, and then what you do is you have a system set up for every system you want to run on. So you'd have like Darwin and Mac, like x86. And so what I was using is like it'll do that, and then it can use Cachex to like cache your output of your
right.
builds. So I was using it to I was using it to like do that. And that's what I was using Hercules CI for that. It was a pain to set up, but it was very cool because I could build all of my stuff like on my own machines, and then when I wanted to install one of the tools I built for myself on a different machine, it was already cached and built somewhere else, and I could just pull down the pre-built image and install like a normal Nix package using Flakes. So that was really cool. Um, and I do that without using overlays, so that was fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's
Um,
let's talk about Poly for a second.
yeah. So Poly is just a very basic CLI tool written in Rust. It really doesn't have that many dependencies, honestly. Um, if we just look at the cargo toml, um, we've got 3 whole dependencies. It's not a complicated project. The source code is all in one file. If I do an already, this isn't a clean cargo build, but let's just do a cargo build here. Doesn't really count. Yeah, I didn't make any changes, but we're at 0.81 seconds. Um, where if I do a Nix build, we'll see if this works. Should. I haven't built this project with Nix in a while because of said performance issues. Um, okay, so we're doing some things. And we have an out of date hash. Love it.
Yep,
Um,
that's fine.
okay.
We love it.
You should have cargo hash SHA. I should have an empty hash.
Yeah.
Really? I should have like the default weird hash.
So what you do is if you build it, so like every time you change your dependencies, so every time you update
Right.
your log file, you're gonna need to update your hash. So all you can do is either just leave the hash empty. So like if you open
Hmm.
up your Flake and
Okay. Right. Right.
just
Right.
set it to
Okay.
empty, it'll just print out a new one for you. Interestingly enough, that's how the Zig package manager works too.
Yeah.
Does the same thing.
I see. So I just have to do this sort of thing, and we're using NeoVim on stream. I actually use Emacs most of the time, but we're using NeoVim on stream so we don't have to change the source that I'm
I'm
sharing a
Emacs
bunch of times.
curious.
Emacs curious.
I've
It's
never.
okay.
I'm scared. I'm a little intimidated by
I
Emacs. I'm gonna be
mean,
honest.
a lot of people are. I'm really more like, you know, pan editorius myself. So I plan on using Emacs and NeoVim at some point, but I'm still like 99% on Emacs.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so that's just how it is. Okay, so let's just do a little not cargo. Let's do a Nix build and see if we get a hash suggestion for us.
Ithrak, you asked about if it creates a virtual volume or a partition. I think it's a partition, but I'm not certain about that. I don't have my Mac in front of me, but I think it's a partition, not a virtual disk.
Yeah, I think that is also true. I was trying to look in the background and I did not get as far as I was hoping before I
Yeah.
actually had to do something. Okay, so here's the correct SHA, which I can just copy and paste into my file. I mean, excuse my extreme ignorance here, but like, what is actually the point of this? Like,
Of the
what is the
hash.
point of this hash?
So what it's doing effectively with the cargo hash is it's going through and it's getting all of the dependencies in your log file and
Yeah,
generating a hash of like what the dependencies are. So you get
right.
like one global hash that is the state
Okay,
of all your dependencies, and
okay.
then that way it allows Nix to validate when you like when someone tries to pull it down. It's like, oh, all of the dependencies need to be this version. So that's where you get the reproducible aspect from your dependencies.
I get it. I get it. So the reason, so I don't have to do this when I do OCaml projects. And is the reason for that possibly because I am actually explicitly listing my dependencies in my Flake file for OCaml projects? Because we don't have any special
Yep.
read my config and just bring in all the dependencies I
Yep.
asked for?
Yep. So
Okay.
that's the thing is like if you have so like for example, like if you have something else. So if you've ever done a Nix build by hand, which is
Yeah.
uncommon, but like you can do a Nix build for like Zig doesn't have just recently got support to build like it has the Zig hook, which you can use. But before that, you actually had to like if you pulled in a dependency, you had to like copy it to the Nix dependency cache. Like you actually have
Hmm.
to specify like, hey, this is the dependency I want to download from Git, like using fetch Git, and then this is the hash of that dependency at that point at that commit. And then what it does is you get the whole part there.
Okay. So here we are. Cargo hash is out of date again. How is that
Oh,
possible?
is
Okay, let's
your
just try. I'm thinking of just doing a cargo clean and then
yeah,
cargo
that might
build.
not be a bad idea.
We'll just get to a nice little clean
Yeah,
state. I mean, I could remove my cargo log completely, but I think a cargo clean might be
I
good
think you
enough.
can do like a is it cargo lock too? Like it'll just generate a new lock file. Nope. Okay.
You're
Uh,
absolutely wrong.
yeah, that's
Um,
fair. I haven't written Rust in a bit, so
yeah, that's all right. We can say cargo help and see if there's like a special way. I know there is something along what you're saying.
mhm.
Require cargo.lock is up to date. Maybe that's it, like a dash dash locked.
Yeah, we can try it.
Maybe it's a
So
cargo.
the one big benefit that we're going to find actually with using
Guessing I have to do
Crane
it
is you
again.
don't actually have to you don't provide it a hash anymore because it's going to
Ooh,
derive that hash from your cargo.lock.
I'm already sold. If I
Yeah,
don't have to update this effing hash, I'm already sold on using
yeah.
this.
No, I hear
if
you.
it
It's
if it had no performance benefit, but I didn't have to update the hash, I would be pretty happy. You know.
yeah.
I mean, I
No, that I
understand
get that.
what you're saying. Like, obviously, we want the reproducible build. Obviously, that's important. That's why we're using Nix. But at the same time, I hate this
Yeah.
hash thing. Okay, so cargo b dash dash locked, that seemed to do something for me.
Okay.
So I got a clean build with dash dash locked anyway at 13.16 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's run next build and see what happens.
You're probably still going to need a new hash, but it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just repeat what we just did. Repetition breeds learning or something like that. It was going to sound really wise for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on like not wanting random partitions on your drive, Ithrak. It's partly just the state I think of using Nix on Mac OS. I think that's
Yeah.
really
Because
we're
it
using we're kind of tricking Mac into letting us use something that it doesn't want us to use at the end of the
yeah.
day.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Um all right. Let's do this one more time. Typical Rust compiling
Yeah.
xkcd.
So if you see there, it's like downloading all of your crates. Like it's
Yeah.
going to vendor all of your crates. So it's interesting because Go does the same thing. So if you try to do a Go project in Nix, what it's going to do is it actually like in the background creates a vendored folder of all of your stuff, and then we'll do that.
Got it.
So do you use like Doom Emacs or Evil mode, and because that's
I
like when you
use
use
evil
Vim.
mode in Emacs, and that's why I can use Vim motions very, very easily.
I was gonna say I'm like he's using Emacs. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't tell you that I was going to create a partition. I can't remember that process.
yeah. I don't.
Yeah, the uninstall process is a little bit of a pain on Mac. So I'm sorry if I'm kind of sorry if we just led you down the path of hurting your system, Ithrak. Now
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are into the determinate sys installer on Mac because it seems to make things easier from an uninstall perspective. But yeah. Okay. So we are here. Let's do another next build. Hopefully we have the right shot. If we don't, I'm going to be really, really. How am I getting this again?
What if you just
Okay.
just like blow away your flake.lock file, or just
Okay.
do a
That's not a bad idea. Like, you want me to just remove it, or is there a better
yeah. Just
command for
let's just
this?
remove it because like it's
Okay.
weird that it's not. Let's try it again. Yeah.
New Nix packages version. Let's go. That might take a minute. I remember some big warning, but I don't remember if I got a big warning about the partition, to be honest.
I used to terminate systems installer on my recent one. I don't know what. It's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler. It has some. It automatically enables flakes, which is nice. So you don't have to do anything special there.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I think BG just doesn't use it out of
I
principle.
I remember when he was building Kickstart, he tried it, and there was like one case where it would fail. Like it was
Uh
like there was one thing it didn't work on. He's like, "All right, we're not using it," and I was like, "Okay, fair enough. All right."
BG's great.
I also use it in CI because their GitHub action is awesome.
Okay, so this might take a minute for me. For some reason, my download speed is abysmal, which I don't understand. Classic fiber internet and terrible download speed.
That's funny because I'm streaming right now on coax, so I don't. Good to know.
No, I mean it's actually usually really fast. I am genuinely surprised that it's this slow. It could actually be that I don't know. It's a busy
Could be a
time
Nix
for
thing,
getting Nix packages.
apparently.
It could be the Nix server error. I mean my downstream is like 350 right now, so I doubt it's really on my end.
Is this your time that you're just gonna start mirroring Nix packages
Yeah,
like unstable?
exactly.
You're just gonna
Yeah.
mirror it and run it locally.
Yeah, it's a good idea, right?
Yep.
Um okay. So maybe while we're waiting for that to take an unknown amount of time to download, we
Yeah.
at least start learning about what Crane is,
Sure.
and I'll just switch my sharing source
Yeah.
over to browser.
Cool.
And let's see, Brave
Yeah.
Dab.
I'm gonna drop a
Let's-
link to a project that I use Crane on as well, and we can use it. We'll kind of talk through some parts of it
Okay.
as
Sick.
well. If my keyboard would respond to me.
All right. So let's see. So this is Crane. I'll start the repo.
Wait, hold on. I have to share you. My bad. Oop, and
Oh, no
there we
worries.
go. There we go.
Yeah, I
Cool.
wasn't.
Yep.
I had the stream open to make sure that I didn't go too fast, but then my download speed was so bad that I thought I'd close it just to see if it mattered.
Fair enough. So yeah, so we can just kind of sit here and walk through it. Their docs are actually really good too. So if you open up the crane.dev and like another tab too, we'll probably switch over to that in a second.
Okay, cool. Okay,
So
so here is Crane. Go ahead.
yeah, so you have a couple things here, right? Like the tagline, right? So source fetching, so it automatically done using your cargo.lock file. So that's why you don't need to use your cargo hash. It's like, hey, cargo.lock is already gonna has all of these hashes. Why are we also gonna compute our own hash? So
Right,
Crane will do that for
right.
you.
So cargo.lock already computes that hash of all of our dependencies, right? And that's
Yeah.
what Nix is grabbing and saying this doesn't match.
Yeah. Yeah. So what
Okay.
it's doing instead. So remember how before I was saying like when you do a typical Rust build, like it's gonna just take all of your dependencies and kind of like bundle them into like one vendored folder and then take the
Right.
hash of that folder.
Yeah.
But when you use Crane, what it's doing is saying, hey, take the cargo.lock file, take all the hashes from that,
Hmm.
and we're gonna generate each like we're gonna put each dependency in its own part of the Nix store, and then that way we have individual hashes for each dependency. And then that's if you update your lock file, it'll update the Nix store. But if you don't, it'll like, oh well, all your dependencies are the same. So we only have to do the build step rather than also the dependency step, which is generally kind of the hard part.
Got it. Got it. Okay,
Um,
very cool.
yeah,
All right, so let's see. A Nix library for building cargo projects, fetching, which you were just talking about, incremental.
yep,
Right. Okay. That's what you started talking about at the
yep,
beginning of the stream. So we can actually get incremental builds,
yep,
which is, uh, I mean, not that this changes totally like what cargo does. It's like, but it's changes what Nix does to be a little bit closer to what
yep,
cargo does.
right,
So it's
yep,
not like we're still using obviously the Rust
yep,
compiler under the hood to compile all these files.
yep,
So it's not like we're going to beat cargo speeds,
no,
but we at least should be able to get closer to cargo speeds.
yep,
I can't remember because it's been a while since I compared these, but I was getting something like a 5x or or something like that
yeah,
difference between Nick's build and cargo build, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
I can't use this right now. Like this is unusable. It's too slow.
So
So yeah.
the one thing that's like really hard about using Nix. So have you ever, if you use a flake, you can set like a like usually there's like a check step. So if you do like a, you can
Hmm.
specify like dependencies in the dev shell, but you can also specify like a check, which basically when it goes to build your package, it'll run like unit tests or integration whatever
Oh
you want to
right.
do. Yeah. So the problem was is like the issue I ran into is I was using this to do zero to production in Rust.
Yeah.
um, I was going through that book and they were talking about like, oh, we're gonna run this CI stuff, like these kind of like linting and stuff like that. But if you do that with Nix, if you set them up as individual checks, it rebuilds the whole thing every time. And you're like, you really don't need to do that. That's kind of ridiculous. And
Yeah.
and that's how I found Crane was like, okay, cool. I can actually do the thing in with Rust, which is like cool. I can build it one time and then lint it
Right.
on top of that, or lint it first, and then I don't need to build again.
Yeah.
So it kind of still does the same thing, and then what it does is you get that already built out, which is nice.
Yeah. That
Uh,
is a lot better.
yeah,
Um.
yeah, yeah. So the next part is it kind of just says like what tools you can use with it. So you can use like Nextest or LLVM Cub to do like code coverage stuff, or Cargo Audit if you need to do like a software bill of materials or something like that. Cargo Tarpaulin, I can't remember what Tarpaulin does, but um, that and the trunk for doing WASM stuff, which we will probably talk about at some point of using trunk for WASM builds, which we can also then do with Nix, which is super nice.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very cool.
yeah,
Um. Okay. And then composables split builds and tests into granular steps, gate CI without burdening downstream consumers, building from source. Okay.
yep,
Let's see. Automatic vendoring into dependencies in a way that works with Nix. Alternative cargo registries are supported. Cool. Get deps are automatically supported without additional config. Very good. Reusing dependency artifacts after only building them once. Clippy checks, Rust format, cargo doc. Okay.
yep.
Very good.
So the nice part is it really taps into more of the Rust ecosystem. So you get more of the Rust tooling that you like with Cargo, and you can really use it here in a way that's Nix friendly.
Yeah.
They also have really good templates and examples. So like if you click on their like examples and getting started, it's actually it's just going to pull you into that crane.dev site. So if you go there,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
can
it'll
switch over
pull
to
you in.
that. I don't think you have to repush if I just switch
Nope,
tab.
nope, you can still see it. You're good.
Cool. Okay, so here we are. Next library for building cargo projects. Okay, so this is the
Yep,
README basically that we just
yep,
read.
yep. So
And then,
if we go on the left side, there's like the artifact reuse
okay,
under
yeah,
introduction. So that's kind of like what this is going to like. This is kind of the meat of the project
okay,
of using Crane.
got it. So we're going to
Um,
add Crane to our inputs. Understood. Make
mhm.
sure the follows, always important. And then this is built with using Flake utils. I use Flake parts. I don't think it's going to be that hard to translate.
Yep.
Um, and then we'll
Yep.
go through this. Okay, I think we're finally ready on
Yep.
here. Is there anything else we should show on the browser before
Yeah. So
uh,
the
we
only
get
thing
started?
I will say is take a look on the left hand side under getting started. There's the quick start simple.
Okay,
Yeah. You
I
just
see
pull that
what
up.
you're doing. You
Yeah.
you think I need the simple path? I get it.
No, it's just it doesn't have all the other stuff. Like it doesn't do like a cargo check and all that other
Okay,
stuff.
got it. So this is actually easier than the thing I was just looking at, is what you're saying. It's like it's
Yeah.
simpler.
Yeah,
It
because the
is,
other
it
one
is
has
actually
like
simpler. Oh yeah, this is like a much shorter flake file. Okay,
yeah. So this is basically like the meat of what we're going to use. And
got
really
it.
what this is doing is if we look here, what it's doing is it abstracts. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind. So when we're reading through this, we still have to use that crane lib system stuff. Like that's fine, but it's using flake utils, but we're going to use flake parts instead. But I think I'm actually using a mix of flake parts and flake utils. I don't know why, but I've used a mix of both in the past. But we can. I think it was just for Hercules CI. But yeah, we'll
Got it.
use flake parts to kind of use some of this and kind of go through that. But the big thing here is so there's that part there that says cranelib.clean cargo source. So
Clean
it's
cargo
under
source.
common
Here we go.
arcs.
Uh
Yeah. So here's
huh.
the thing that's like really interesting. So this is a big part that was very confusing to me when I started using
Okay.
Crane. And so the thing is like by default when you do an X build, everything
Yeah.
that's in everything that's tracked by get is going to get pulled in.
Right.
When you use CraneLib clean cargo source, that is no longer true. It
Oh,
will
interesting.
it'll only pull in files that cargo can see, which is like by default only Rust files
Okay.
and whatever. So if you're using like templating, it can kind of get a little weird, and then you can just specify like the source is just the path. You don't have to
Right.
then use that. But this is nice because what it allows you to do is say you get smaller steps because you're no longer pulling in everything that's maybe not necessary for a build. So if you're doing like a mono repo, you can set up your clean cargo source for each individual project, and then you'll have it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um. Okay. Cool. Great.
Yeah.
So then I think we're probably ready to switch
Yeah.
to the terminal.
Yeah, let's
All
get
right.
into it. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Here we are. Share window, Alacrity, and
And I got to show that
what's
one
so
on
funny is
screen.
like I'm part of the Ghosty beta. I don't know if you've bit the Ghosty bug yet,
I
but I'm
have.
part of the. You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Of
not
course. I
surprised.
stream Zig. Like, what do you
Yeah,
expect?
I mean, yeah. What do you expect, right? It's like the Zig of Fame project, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Right
Um,
now. Yeah.
Mitchell chose Zig. It's obviously showing that
Yeah. It's
Zig
been anointed.
is
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's blessed. We're good. We can use it.
Don't worry
Um,
about HashiCorp selling. Just forget that it happened. Mitchell wasn't there. It has nothing to do. No,
yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't have anything to
It
do.
really doesn't. Yeah.
But you know how the internet is.
I get it.
All right, good deal. So, yeah, all right. So I've got this Nix build. I think it's actually working. Let's just let it evaluate this. Now, this does love to hang on my system as well. So this is the other thing that might not get fixed by using this. But I literally just did this build and then it's doing this again. And it did fail on LLVM. I'm sorry. It's actually not
Yeah.
in this case it wasn't Nix's fault.
I
It
love the
was
old,
just
like, I have to pull in LLVM for this. Like, I loved that part about Rust Bells. I'm like, why are you pulling in an entire copy of LLVM?
yeah,
What
I
do you
know.
possibly need this for?
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad that we're doing it. I mean, at least we get the compressed, 352 version instead of literally downloading.
Still, why do I need a third of a gig of
I know.
of
No,
compressed LLVM? Great.
it's it's pretty ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still going to take 2 gigs on on my system, right?
Right.
But, oh gosh, that's funny. Okay, fiber is showing that it actually is kind of fibery right now, so that's good. Um,
It's gonna stretch
we're getting there.
slaves.
Well, and I said that, and then it stopped. It stopped downloading.
It knew you were listening. It
Yeah,
said,
right.
I don't know about that.
AT&T was listening.
It's
Uh,
it's funny. So like where my apartment is, they have
fuck.
so Kansas City is a Google Fiber city. So we have Google
Uh-huh.
Fiber like everywhere, which
Right.
is great. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Uh, but the problem is that like every building around mine has it except for me.
Yeah.
So like all the other houses have them. Mine, absolutely not. So I just like, yeah, I guess I'll use coax because that's fun. It's great.
Yeah.
Gets me where I need to go. But yeah,
That's funny. Okay, I'm gonna do this thing where I just comment this out so I don't go effing crazy,
yeah,
and I want to see if it just gives me the same exact hash
yeah. I'm
again.
curious about that too.
Um,
If it
so if it
doesn't, then we're just
does,
going to build it with this, and if we get any improvement, that it actually builds,
yeah, we'll
then
see.
we get a
Yeah,
win.
we don't have to use the hash, and then that's our actual win here is that the project actually fucking builds.
Yep.
All right, gotta love it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple other things that can get weird about using Crane, especially around like if you're trying to cross compile with Nix,
Uh huh.
which I don't know. I don't know if that's on on your docket, but if we ever do WASM stuff together, you
Right.
will need to do that because like technically it's cross compiling, but uh, basically what
Got
it
it.
is that Crane will only install the tool chain for your native system. It won't install the one for uh
Oh, I see. For cross compilation, yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay, this does look like a different it is a different SHA. It absolutely is. Um, so okay, somehow I didn't copy it. Hold on a second. Where was that dumb SHA? All right, there it is. And
Your
that should be
dependencies are just
copied.
changing from underneath you.
I know, right? I don't get it.
Did
All
we
right,
recommit the
let's
flake by
what?
chance?
What? Oh wait, I'm being dumb. I forgot. I
I
forgot
gotta
how
say
this
that's been the
works.
weirdest thing, switching to like Command C, Command V, like over
Oh
like
yeah, no,
Control Shift
that's
C,
hard.
Control Shift
It
V.
it drives me crazy if I ever use my gaming computer on Windows. Um, I I forget I've forgotten all of those now that I've been on Mac for 5 years. I mean, the main reason I've been on Mac for 5 years is because hashtag work pays. But um, the M series chips do kind of give me pause about switching back to Linux.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
last time we're even going to attempt to update this hash. If it doesn't work this time, I mean, with this downloading something else, I don't like what is happening here.
yeah, that's
I mean, I
what's
guess it's saying zero point zero megs download, but still, I guess it
someone's
is
just
it's just compiling. Okay.
yeah.
At first, I thought it was downloading more dependencies. It's like you should have already had them by this point. I'm
Yeah.
pretty darn sure.
Yeah. Now I think we're in a better spot because it is
I think
actually
it might have
doing a
finally
build.
accepted the hash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're compiling poly. This is good. We'll actually get a real build.
Yeah. Cool. So that's see?
Okay. So
Boom.
this is what I was seeing is about a 45-second build time. Let's just run it one more time. Okay. Obviously, I didn't make any changes at all, so it didn't
Right.
actually have to do any work that time. But
Yeah.
if I make just even a basic change, a comment change to the one source file that I have in my project, I'm at 45 seconds on my Intel based MacBook,
Yep.
POS. But that's kind of where we're sitting. So I think that gives us a baseline to where we can actually
Cool.
start putting in Crane.
Cool. All right. So then what we'll do is I think we can just start by we'll just add the input. So we'll just add like crane as an input.
Yeah, let me switch where I have windows here because now I can't see anything. There we go. All right, so let's just do crane equals. Oh, I love that it doesn't automatically give me a curly brace. Oh, that's right. I don't have because I don't have any NeoVim config. This is so cursed. All right. I betcov slash crane and then inputs dot next packages dot follows equals next packages.
I think you put an extra letter in crane.
That's fine. I think that's a good letter. All right.
It
Okay.
was
So
optional, but
then,
we kept that anyways.
yeah, we like it.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next thing here, let's see. Next packages, legacy packages system. That part doesn't matter for me.
Yeah.
Um, the next thing I
So
need to do is actually get this whole crane lib dot system, and
yeah,
that's going to have to be within my per
yeah,
system on flake parts.
yeah.
So
So
we'll be down here. Okay.
the first thing we need is to add that like let in part because I don't think you have one right now. So
Yeah, you're right. I do not have a let on this flake because I ended
yeah,
up not needing it. Okay, so we're gonna have to put that here under per system if I'm not
it goes
mistaken.
before the curly brace though.
It
So you see
goes.
how
Oh, you're right, right. That always screws me up. Okay, so we do our let, and
then we can
we can
if you just
just
want to do
do
like a let in and then you can do the curly brace after that and then we can just kind of put it on a
yeah,
new
so
line.
we don't forget.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
Okay, so let's do this, and we'll just do crane lib equals crane dot lib. Guessing the syntax should be the same.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so now we have crane lib.
Yep.
We already have packages anyway because Flake Parts already gives it to me in the per system.
Yep.
So I think this part looks good.
Yep. The next part is your common args
Okay,
part.
so common args.
That'll also be in your let in. So kind of
Oh, I see. Okay.
how Crane kind of recommends you do it. You don't have to, but what it does is like it hoists everything up out of the build steps so that like you can
Yeah.
kind of reuse the components.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So we'll do the common args, and then it says like source, and then we'll use the Crane lib just so you can see how it works. It's really useful. Like if you ever investigate the Nix source, it'll show you that like, oh yeah, it copied like other stuff, which is really helpful if like, hey, maybe I don't want to include my environment variables
Yeah.
in the Nix build. That's maybe important. Generally, it should be fine if you're just doing it from there. But yeah, yep, looks good.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess we're gonna say strict depth equals true. Hey,
Yep.
what's up, whimsically? Yeah, I am horizontally flipped. I know. Whenever I was a guest on Dylan's stream, people are like, "Wait, you flip your camera on your stream?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And it's brain bending. I know. I'm flipped, and I'm using NeoVim. I mean, this is a crazy
we
time,
we
whimsically.
might have a clone here. Actually,
Yeah,
it's
or
I
is
don't even
this
think it's the
really
same
me?
person.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. So straight tabs equals true. Okay, and then I see. So here
Yeah,
they want us to do our build inputs.
I
So
don't think.
there's which I don't think I need any.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Since
lib
I
icon is, but
yeah,
I've
additional
never needed
Darwin
it.
I guess they're just giving an example.
Yeah,
Okay, so I don't even have any build inputs. I'm going to leave it like it is.
yeah, yeah.
Um okay. So then
Then the next part is after common args, they do the actual like crate build, and
oh, I see.
yeah,
So my crate. So in this case, maybe I just want to say something like poly equals since
yeah, but
that's my
it needs to be
package
like
name.
outside of the common args like
Oh yeah,
object.
duh. No, I'm just
I
not
say
looking at.
object, but I don't. Is it an object? I don't know
It's
because we're
they call them attribute sets in Nixling.
yeah.
But yeah,
I'll call it an object and get
I
canceled
think
for it.
object is fine.
Yeah,
I call all sorts of things objects, even if they're not objects.
that's fair. That's fair.
Actual Vim, so literally an evil clone. What's up, F Collector? Um, okay, so let's see. What am I doing? I'm supposed to be saying poly equals
Yep.
crane lib dot build package. And this is common args, right? Which is what I just did.
Yep. So
I
we'll
always
do this to
forget what
start,
that
and then
slash slash actually does. What is I get?
I
Is it a merge? I'm
couldn't
guessing
tell
it's
you.
a merge.
Sure.
I think it's a merge attribute set. That's what I'm going to pretend anyway.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I think that sounds good. Nice.
So we'll go through we'll go through this like once, and then we'll show you kind of the next level of this, which is where you can abstract your dependency building part from the actual package build,
Okay.
and then I'll kind of show you that too. It is
Okay.
helpful
That
in a
sounds
couple
good.
places.
Okay, so we have cargo artifacts, cranlib.build depths only, common args. That all looks fine.
Yep.
Additional environment variables or build faces hooks can be set here without rebuilding all dependency crates. Sure, I don't care
Yep.
about that. And then this is our in, and
Yep.
then checks equals. Okay,
So
so
you don't
this
need to
is
add the
gonna
checks if you don't want to.
right.
That'll just do like cargo clippy, I think, and
Got it. Yeah. Currently, I
whatever
don't
one.
use any checks.
Yep.
Classic.
Yep.
So we don't have
So
to
we
worry
can just
about
leave them
that.
off. Yep. The dev
So
shell is going to change for you though. That's going to
dev
be the big
shell
thing.
is going to change.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So this is different. Okay. So
Yep.
dev shells, I actually have to change to dev shells dot default equals
Yep.
unless dev shells dot default is that a flake utils thing, and I just say dev
No.
shells.
So
That is
so,
a
so
okay.
how it works is like, so if you go back, so if we delete it, you already have the default attribute right there. Like, do you see how
Oh,
underneath it?
duh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have default there, and
Yep.
then I'm saying packages dot make shell. Okay.
Yeah. So you could either do it, you could either redeclare it down below. So rather than saying packages that make shell, you do cranelib.devshell,
Yeah.
or you just
Yeah.
say, or just do it up here. Either one is fine.
Okay. We'll just do it here. This is
Okay.
fine. Lack of indentation's killing me, but I don't have auto indent because I have no neovim config.
So
Done installing. Next, going to give it a go in a VM. Nice. Sounds good. Sounds like a good choice. Let's see. So cranelib dot dev shell. Okay. So we don't care about our checks because we're not doing any,
yep.
but I do care about having.
S-
Okay, you
Yes.
go ahead
So
and
you don't
tell.
even have to put anything in there. It's just
Okay,
done.
I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. So what that's going to do, so a couple things that are interesting here is when you do checks, like let's say
Yeah.
you set a check and you say like, oh, I want to run Clippy or Tarpaulin or like whatever. I'm going to run all that as my checks now.
Uh huh.
If you do that, what it'll do is it'll actually inherit your checks
Hmm.
from before. So you'll get it'll do the inheritance, and then you'll get like cargo Clippy on your path and cargo Tarpaulin on your path, because like Tarpaulin, for example, isn't like by default in your path. So like it'll install all that for you. And if you have like any other packages, then you just add those down there. But by default, it'll just take, hey, everything it needs to build, it'll just set it up for you, and then
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Okay.
Yep. So you can just leave it empty, and we can
So
just
we'll leave
delete
that empty
the.
for now, and
Yep.
that's just to show, first of all, at least in Flake Parts lingo, I had to do all of this default equals inputs from stuff,
Yep. Yep.
and
So the
then
biggest change is it's already just gonna pull
it's just going to
the cargo
grab
stuff.
all of
Yeah.
that. And
Yep.
then this whole thing now in let's see. So in the docs here, it says
Yep.
extra inputs can be added here to a packages thing, but it looks like I don't need that, right?
Yeah.
Like I
So that would be
literally
like
am done.
right. So that would be something like maybe I'm gonna and maybe you in your dev shell you install the LSP or something,
Uh-huh.
or something like that. That would be the place where you could put it, because it's not like a builds package, but
Right.
you can put it there. So like they use like ripgrep as an example. So like whatever you want to put in there, You can, but by default, it'll just pull in everything it needs to build. Um,
Right. Okay. Right. Because we're in the dev shells part. That's the part
yep, yep,
since I'm used to having my dev shell and my package defined separately, I'm getting confused when they're kind of mushed together.
yep,
So packages here is just anything else I want as extra inputs to my dev shell. Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
All good. Which I do, I do need to fix that part in my Rust, my Rust flakes because I currently do not have like a Rust analyzer installed or anything like that. But maybe I'm wrong. Is Rust analyzer just part of the cargo tool chain? So it's just like
I
installed
don't
for
think it
me.
is yet. I think you still have to install it
Yeah, it's
via
Rust
like Rust
up
Up.
that just installs everything,
Yeah.
like the normal way that people install cargo and all that.
So,
Okay, anyway, so what's pretty crazy is we had, I don't know, 15 lines with very little information here in our
yep.
Nix Flake. And
Yep.
the version, that is a question mark in my head. What's going to happen with this version? Because
Yep.
before I would specify a version, now I'm not.
Yep.
Um, and then, of
So
course, we already talked about the hash. So I'll just
so
delete that now.
yeah. Yeah. So we actually can remove the packages part there because that was actually building the package, like building your it was doing the Nix build. That part's separate. That your package is here. We're
Uh
gonna
huh.
replace that as well. So if we
Okay.
go
So thus far,
yep.
all we have done. Oh gosh, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to read this one more time. Okay. So I skipped down to okay, because I had dev shell before, I
Yep.
skipped down to the dev shell in their example and I didn't see the part where we're actually defining our
Yeah.
package. Okay. Never
Yep.
mind. That's why I was so effing confused. Okay. So we're good.
Yep.
So then packages dot default. So
Yep.
then we have again kind of similar.
Yep.
Obviously, I could do packages equals default the way that I have it, but they just have it as packages dot default, which is fine. And here we just say poly because I've already defined it up there.
Yep.
And then they have this thing that's new to me, which is
Oh,
this
apps.
apps dot default.
Yeah. So one thing you can do with an X Flake is if you have an app uh, defined, what you can do is if
Mhm.
you do like if you have a Nix Flake up somewhere, someone can just do Nix run and then the URL to your Flake, it'll be like GitHub
Oh,
whatever, and then what it'll do is it'll just run your tool without having it. It kind of like bypasses the like I'm gonna set up a Nix shell and then install it in the Nix shell. It just
got
does
it.
all of that as one step, so you don't have to provide it with an app. You can if you want.
I mean, it's kind of
Um,
cool because this is like a runnable CLI tool that somebody
yeah,
could do that with.
yeah. So it kind of
Um,
provides them with a way to just say like, hey, I want to set this up like for like a one-time use. Now the only thing is, it does require Flake utils rather than Flake parts. Um,
right, to
so that's the
have
only thing.
the app. I wonder if Flake Parts has anything like that.
Yeah.
Flake dot parts. Um,
Let's see. It might be under the options.
modules apps dot nix maybe.
I know that for everyone that I have, I just haven't found it. And so what I
Okay,
instead I do is I just
move to
uh
Flake utils if you want one.
yeah. Here, let's see. Flake parts modules apps.nix. Apparently there is, but I don't know how to read this.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of got to is I opened that and then it did not give me. Okay, well, let's just forget about it for now.
Yep.
Let
I
me
can do
just
some research on it. We can try it some other time.
yeah, we can just put a to do here. To do uh optional. I have to tell myself that things are optional on my
Yep.
own projects. Create app
Yep. Like
from
I
Bali.
was thinking about this, so like I thought that would be really cool when you do the examples for like the riot stuff you've been working on, or
Yeah.
like for Serde and stuff, like because then you could have that for your flakes. You could say like, oh, just you could set up every example as a separate
Mm,
app, and then
right.
you could
That's
have it
true.
like I just want to run it. Like maybe I just want to see see if it works. It'll
Yeah.
just kind of pull it down and run. It doesn't it's not the same, right? Like you don't get the same kind of experience
Sure,
working
as
with
like
it, but
developing it or whatever.
right,
But no, that is actually a really cool idea because you could still run the example on your system.
right,
So yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so then now that I've defined the actual package, basically my 7 lines or so to define my package before has now just been cut into three if I include the I mean, there's more than that. I guess there's the common arcs. There's okay, so
yep,
it's about the same number of lines. It's really not
yep,
the point. But I do see how there's in some ways like a simplifying
right.
of this Rust build process.
Like I said,
So
the thing that's like really powerful is like when you have like checks or formatting you want to do like that, it
yeah.
saves you there because it can just kind of you hoist all that up in a common args, and then what you can do is you can specify like the dependencies need to be built first, then we want to run the checks, then we want to run the builds, and then you can say like if any one of these fails, then the whole process fails, and you can specify the ordering. So the way I like to think about it is like Crane is really good at providing composability. So
Mhm.
you can really compose the cargo builds that you want. More so, I think it's CI than like when you're doing it normally, but it is really helpful if there's like certain things you want to do in certain cases.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
makes sense. Okay, so we have our semicolons. Oh, I missed this one. There is a semicolon after let in, I believe.
We'll find out.
And let's see. Let's see if this works. Nope, there's not a semicolon after let in. Okay, good to know. Or I missed another semicolon somewhere else.
Let's see.
Let's see. Did I miss another semicolon? I don't see one. Now it could be a non-semicolon error, but this looks fine.
Um,
This looks fine. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Wait, what is this? What is this? Okay, I think I added an extra close. That's what I did. I added an extra.
okay.
Okay. But when it, okay, so that closes this one. Okay, that's what happened. Oh, I see where I got confused. Okay, just classic me being confused. It's all good. Okay.
Uh,
Undefined variable crane. Okay. That's because it's
oh, you.
inputs.crane,
Yeah. Yeah. Either inputs at Crane or just passing it in through
the
the.
per system.
Yeah. Well, you
I
can pass it into like under outputs. You see where it says like inputs at Flake parts.
Oh, right, right.
You could put
Hmm.
Crane in there too and pass it in that way if you
Okay.
wanted to.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah,
do
that
this.
works.
That's what I usually do. Is I do inputs prime. Okay. Now they like my syntax.
Attribute.
What's this? Attribute lib missing. What does that mean? Okay.
Let's see.
Let's see. What did I do this time? Inputs.crane. Okay, so it's saying that crane here. Okay, so it's saying lib is not in crane, which means it's not bringing in crane correctly.
So let's. Can we do?
Do we want to try
Yes.
putting it up here with like parts?
Yeah, let's try it up there. Okay, and then yeah, just doing something.
It's doing
Just
something. That doesn't always mean something on my computer, but no, it did seem to actually work. Okay, so our Durham eval at least worked, so we could just try an X build now.
yep. I find that the biggest benefit with Crane is like subsequent builds are fast, but then also like if you have a lot of dependencies,
Mhm.
uh,
Those are the normal retry. errors that I get. But
Interesting.
we'll see what happens. The cannot link
That's
is usually
interesting.
just a retry problem for some reason.
Gotcha. Good to know. We'll just if it didn't build once, we'll just build it
That's
again
what
and it'll
BG told
work.
me. I just believed him, whether I should have
Yep.
or not.
So if you see right there, it says poly depths. So it has a version number, even though we didn't provide one. That's just going to pull it from your cargo.toml.
I'm
So
missing where it sees polydeps, but I'm sure I'll
like
find it
on the
eventually.
line where you're doing a build. I'm
Oh
pointing at the
yeah,
screen,
duh.
but you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, what it's doing is it pulled that version number actually from your cargo.toml file. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
it'll do that. So what did it see? So
Library
that's
note.
why we need the lib icon thing. Okay. There we go.
They knew what we needed when we
Yep.
didn't. Okay, so this is a Darwin specific. We're missing lib icon.
Yeah.
And this is in common args build inputs. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to say build inputs equals list. And oh, yeah. Okay. Well, this part is confusing. So we don't actually need that because we're just going to go right to plus plus dot optionals packages dot stud imb dot is Darwin. Okay. Hold on, Neoman. There we go. And packages.libIconf. Okay. Looks good to me. See what happens. Okay. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah. So one thing it will do that is kind of like weird is it'll do so I wanted to check actually strict depths. I don't remember what
What that
that
does.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like there was something here. Oh, it just doesn't. Okay, that's cool. Thank you. Awesome. Let's see. Build package.
Okay, cool. You got a clean build. And I mean, even though
Took a
that
little
felt
longer.
like a long time, let's just say that the clean build took 54 seconds when before it took 45 seconds to do a unclean build
Yep.
without Crane. So
Yep.
anyway, um,
So I guess the test would be like if we change something.
yeah, let's just make a little change and then we'll commit that. So let's see. Right, I just have one source file. My favorite. Oh my god, I love doing that and forgetting to hit tab and creating a new file. I even wrote quit it just out of absolute muscle memory. Okay. Oh my god, I just removed it. It's all good. Okay.
Thank God
So
forget.
yeah,
Thank God we have that.
it's so dumb. Okay. So let me just do this real quick. Oh god. I'm so dumb. It's just because I kept seeing RM and instead of doing the of them. Okay, here we go. So all we'll do is we'll just stash some changes here. What did we get? Okay. Oh yeah, I don't have to do that. I can just undo. I don't know. I stashed it. I don't have to do that. I can just undo the one thing. I can just restore. Oh god.
There's too much Git for our own good, you know.
I know, right?
It's just so much.
Okay, here we go. Get restore source main.rs. All right, let's try this again. Source main.rs. I just remember doing that in the old days. Just remove shit on accident, and
Yep,
you're just fucked. You just
it's fair.
there's no you can't recover from that one. Okay, so let's just change something. I mean, usually I just add a comment, a literal comment.
Yeah.
We'll do it. A comment. Okay, very good. And um, from there, because I'm lazy, I press up instead of having to type 8 characters. And here we go. This better be fast.
I know if I
Just
put you through
messing
all
with you.
this, then it's like actually not any. I mean,
No,
it's
it does make it simpler at least. Like literally not having to do the hash thing is worth using this. But 18 seconds, that's that is whatever it is. 30% of the time,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
That's an order of magnitude faster, right?
yeah.
So we made a little change. We can also do a cargo build, and it should be a similar experience. For some reason, it's doing this though. So we might need to make one more change to really test a cargo build. Could not compile poly. LD library not found for
Uh,
LICOMP? Oh, is
okay,
it because Nix did something with the
yeah.
linker?
So we
That's
have to pass it through as a
hilarious.
native as a build input to the dev shell.
Okay.
So
So right. Yes.
yep,
So if we go into our flake
yep.
and instead of build inputs, it's native build inputs, I believe.
I think yeah. I think native build inputs is. Let me look.
I think this is what we want.
Actually, the native build inputs will only change like how Nix is building it, not how you are going
Oh,
to build it. So
not
so
how
you'll
it's okay.
so you want to go down to the dev shell,
Okay. Hmm.
and inside the dev shell attribute,
Yeah.
we'll add
Whoops.
what was it called? It's going to be packages equals, and then you'll do a
I
list
love to do this. Okay. Packages equals.
or packages all spelled out. So like
Oh, right,
PAC.
right. I'm so used to that now. Okay.
Uh,
Packages equals
so
like this.
so one thing you can do is you can actually just say like rather than providing it a list, one thing you can do is like because you get it composably, you can say just common args dot build
Oh,
inputs.
yes. Right. So I can say common args dot build inputs. Okay.
Yep.
And this is attribute set. So I need one of these.
Yep.
And I've got that. All this looks fine. Okay. So let's try this.
Yep. Yeah. So the only thing it'll install for you is like cargo and Rust C. It won't do like anything else. But if you like, if you add like other cross compiled tool chains that you want to have, like it'll also install those tool chains for you.
Got it. Okay, so let's see if we now have leconv, and we do. Okay, very good. So that's
Yep.
happy. Let's
But
just do a Nix build again, and then we will make a little change and try to compare them.
yep.
Just
The only
just
thing,
out of interest.
the
Cargo's
only thing,
obviously probably going to be faster no matter
yeah.
what, but
But
we just want to see what happens.
one thing I want to say though is like when you do a Nix build, it's doing a release build. It's not doing a debug build.
Oh
So
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
So it is doing the optimized build.
yep.
And let's see. I've never even bothered to do a release build because we don't ship software here. We just write it.
We just write
Um
it and say,
so what is it? Is it dash dash release? I
yep,
don't actually remember anymore.
yeah, it's dash dash release.
Okay. I do remember. I should have just done that and been like, oh yeah, of course I remember. Okay. So let's do a cargo build dash dash release. And then we'll compare the two on a little change. That is an interesting point. I guess there's probably not a little option to say I just want a dev build out of Nix. Are
Yeah,
you familiar with that?
I don't know. I'll take a look for you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. Wait, I don't need to make changes to my flake. I just need to make changes. I didn't make any changes. Why are you evaluating derivation? I didn't change anything. Okay. um let's see. What was I doing? Oh yeah, we're just making we'll just delete our comment that we added. How about that?
Not delete main RS. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Just the
good,
comment.
good.
Okay.
Just
I
the
just want to make
comment.
sure.
Yeah, no
Just put
deleting
it
main
out there.
RS. I already did that once today. Oh my god. I can't believe I did that. But source control. It's a good thing.
We've all been there.
Let's see.
Oh, I forgot about this one too. I'll show you something else after this too.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we made our little change. We're gonna do a cargo build dash dash release. Let's see how fast this is. It still took 2 seconds, but that's fine. Um, and I am wondering though if that's because comments don't go into release builds or something. I don't know. Maybe the comment isn't a big enough change.
Yeah, I think they strip comments out of release builds.
Right. So that might have been a bad change, but we can make one more just out of interest.
Yep.
We'll just put a random let or something that I don't actually use, which I guess that will still be stripped. Okay, we'll print something. How about that?
Yep.
We'll change something about our program.
I mean, you still
Uh,
get a decent build. I mean, 9 seconds
Nine
when you're
seconds
doing
is
it.
actually very impressive. I was so on my train of thought that I did not even think about it. 9 seconds is perfectly serviceable. Like, I don't think I would care about the difference between 9 and 2 most of
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Um, okay, so let's just make a little change here, and we want to say Ninja 1 2. Okay, Ninja 1 2, and we'll do a cargo build dash dash release. See if there's any difference. Okay, still 2 seconds. No worries. So it's probably going to be about the same then.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Come on, Nix. You're gonna screw with me this time? Really? You're gonna not give me a 9 second build? Like think about this for a long time. 19. It's still good.
Yeah.
Um.
It's still better
Yeah.
than having to redo it like the whole tree every time.
Oh, it's absolutely better. And I mean, we
Yeah.
were at 45, and I mean 19 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Say we're at like a 15 seconds on average. I think
Hmm.
that's not a bad build time. Granted, this
Yep.
is still a very small project, but because of I mean, essentially, you should see an
Yep.
even bigger benefit, of course, on a larger
Yep.
project with more dependencies since we have the incremental builds.
That
So
was
I
that,
think that's really cool.
that was the problem I ran into with it. So I was trying to I was building a Discord bot for like me and my friends, and I naturally was like, I'm building this in my free time, so I'm going to pull in every dependency under the sun because I don't
Right.
care,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm going to do. And so, when you have a dependency graph and you're looking at it, and you're like, it has like with sub dependencies, right? You're looking at like 200 packages.
Yeah.
How I got to that number, couldn't tell you, but 200 packages, and you're like, all right, cool. Well, now I got to do this every time. It's like, why is it taking multiple minutes to build on a little like i5 from 2014? Like, it's just struggling in my
That's
little CI
hilarious.
server. So,
Oh man.
yeah,
Yeah, that's rough. Okay, cool. So I'm actually really happy with this. I think that even just the fact, even if I ended up only using Nick's build, if I was wanting to do the binary, the
hmm,
fact that I still or in CI or whatever it is,
yeah,
the fact that I don't have to specify that hash anymore is just a world of good for me.
yeah,
So even if I didn't get the performance boost, which we did, like
right,
pretty big time, um, whatever, three x faster. I don't know how that math works, something like that.
yeah,
Um, you know, even just not having to specify that SHA anymore,
Mhm.
it makes me pretty happy. So I really appreciate you showing me that. I
For
think
sure.
that's a really huge improvement over what I had before, and I feel like I can I can for the most part justify using Next on my Rust projects again, where
Yeah.
for a while I was like I just gave up on it because it was just too annoying.
Yeah. It definitely makes it more manageable, and it like makes it feels like you're working with Cargo than against it. Like
Right.
it's definitely leaning into like Cargo did a lot right. Like it's a great
Yeah.
tool. It compiles really well. You get all the benefits of like how it does incremental builds. Like it's great. And with Crane, you can do that. There's a couple other ones too. Like that, I know there's a couple other build tools that do something similar. I just find that Crane is like still pretty actively developed and works really well for me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it works well with you if you want to use like a Rust overlay too. Like I know Mozilla, I think, had like a Rust overlay for a while to get like better upstream Rust if you wanted to use it or
Hmm.
stuff like that. But yeah, no, it Crane is just uh, to me, it's just a really nice tool to just get like just build it out, make it a little bit more close to the metal and or close to what your cargo.toml file is. And then you don't have to worry about all those other like Nix things that you run into with like oh I need to provide a package version and I
Yeah.
need to provide the cargo hash and like all that stuff. We don't have to do that here when we're working with Nix and cargo.
Yeah, it's really nice. You had something else you wanted to show me. I think we're about to wrap up here.
Yep.
I'd say I've got
Yep.
about 15 minutes,
Yep. I
but
just wanted to
let's
show
look at what
you
you got.
one thing. I will send you a link
Okay,
here
cool.
because I'm on my other PC and I, didn't think ahead on how I'm going to share my screen if I needed to. So
No
we're gonna
worries.
use yours.
We can do that.
I'm gonna drop it in the chat. But here is another example. So if what's important here is actually down at the bottom.
Okay,
Um,
let's see. We'll get this open and shared for the people at home, and then we'll talk about it. Oh, let's see. Local development.
yep.
Cool.
And show on stream. Yep.
All right.
Cool.
So what's important is at the bottom.
Yep. So you see, there's that inputs from attribute.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So that just says, hey, just pass the crate you want to build. So if let's say you have a project where you're building multiple crates and
Hmm.
you, rather than like doing like the plus for all the operators, you can just
Yeah.
provide a list of all the crates you want to provide, you want to have tools to, or maybe you don't want to have your like, because with Crane, you can separate your, like your formatting stuff and your linting stuff from your, like your checks from your builds. You can say,
Right.
oh, maybe I want to also provide the build and the check parts. So what this will do is it says,
Hmm.
hey, take all the build inputs that I get given. So whether it's native build inputs or just regular build inputs, whatever you pass it, and just give me those in my dev shell, and then there you
Right.
go.
So I
Yeah.
think this is actually the Crane way of specifying what I was specifying in Flake parts, where I
Right.
said get, it was like inputs into my dev shell from my package. And that's probably why I was used to having libIconv available in Cargo build, but then that went away.
Uh.
So
So
I
so
wonder if
not
that's
ex-
the same thing.
so from my understanding, it's just the build inputs, not so like if you see above where it says like you still have to specify the build inputs
Right.
in there. But then when you say it down at the bottom, what it's saying is if you pass any build inputs in,
Hmm.
it'll include it in your dev shell as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So rather than what we did, which is like the self dot packages or
Right.
common
Exactly.
args dot build inputs, it's essentially just like a
So I
simplified
should
wrapper
be
of
able
that.
to actually change that line
Mhm.
to this, and
Yeah.
then I don't have to specify. It makes it a little bit simpler because then if I have to add anything else in the future,
Yeah.
it's already all done there for me.
Yeah. It simplifies it because then it's like if you change your build inputs, then you're not like, oh, I hope I, did it. Or if you add another crate that you're building in a mono repo, you can
Yeah.
have both of them, you know, using the same thing.
totally.
Yeah.
So let's see. What is that? That's there. Okay. So I think that's a lot better. And
Mhm.
then, so yeah. So even though we don't necessarily have the dev build ability with
Yeah.
Crane, at least as far as we can tell, um, this at least will clean up this part. Okay, cool. So I like that. What was it? Packages, no, inputs from equals poly. And I realize no one can see my screen, but that's just life sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Um,
can specify like there's an optional attribute that's you can specify the cargo build command where it just you basically just give it what you want it to run. So in this case, it says like cargo build dash dash profile release.
mhm.
And what you can do is just say, oh, instead of that, I actually just want to run the dev build, and you can do that as well.
Okay. And
That
where is that?
yes, if you go on the left hand side,
Uh-huh.
uh, there's it's number 8. It's called API reference.
Ah, okay.
And if you scroll down to cranelib dot like build deps only, that one's so one thing that you can do like later down the line is you can do a thing where you just build your dependencies separate as a separate step. And the reason you do
Mm,
that is like in your current implementation, if you're doing multiple things, it's going to rebuild the package every time, kind of like how it was before. But in this case, what you can do is say, I just want to build the dependencies first and have
yeah.
those cached and then do that. But there, if you scroll down, there's an optional attribute that says like cargo build command.
Cargo build command. Neat.
Yeah. And then I think that one
So default
also,
value is profile release. And
right.
then if we just took that off like we normally would run cargo build,
Yeah.
then we could do that.
Yeah. And if you scroll down, there's one for a build package as well, which is like what we used to build the crate, I believe.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh yeah, right here.
yeah, we use build package and it also has the same reference.
It
So
has the
it,
cargo build command. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
would just specify that in the common args. Like you would just say, like I actually want to do like I want to change the value to be cargo build dash dash profile. I think dev,
Hmm.
or you could just do cargo build and just don't specify anything else.
Right.
And
Since
then
that's
it,
what we're running anyway.
yeah, and then what it'll do is it'll just do the then that way you it won't do the release build. It'll just do a dev build.
Yeah. Which for me might actually be what I want 99% of the time anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
and the advantages too is you could specify it two different ways. So you could have two different packages, like rather than saying like packages default, you could say like packages that default is released. But if I do like a
right.
Nix build dev,
Yeah, that's
then
what I was thinking is that if you had a dev package
yeah,
and you could do everything, it'd be easy to make that pretty simple.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's a really nice thing that I could enhance.
yeah.
So I'm gonna add a to-do note in my Flake.
Okay.
Add dev package because I think that would be just a nice pattern. Because obviously, like, it's not hard for me to just switch it, the
Yeah.
cargo build command. But as far as a pattern and a template that I can easily copy to other projects, we might as well just create like a dev package in the Flake, and then everything is just working the way that it's just obviously way more reproducible, a nicer DX even for ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great. Um, cool. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like we accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which is like we made the Rust build easier, we made the Rust build more performant, and we even have some other potential wins to make it even more performant by using dev builds instead of release builds in the
Yeah.
next flake. So it'll be cool. I think our plan is to do some more of these. They
Yep.
we'll see if there's more to do around Nix.
Yep.
But we also, I think I wanted, so I'm completely ignorant of WASM, and I kind of want to see you're not completely ignorant of WASM based on
Yep.
your streaming history, at least.
Yeah. I do a
So
bit
it
of
would
WASM.
be, it would be cool to see how all that works.
Yeah.
It is surprising. Like I have a soft plan of getting a Rust job next, And
Hmm.
the amount of Rust jobs that want the WASM or WASI experience, yeah, I said that right. It is more than I expected.
Hmm.
So it does seem to be something that people are interested in,
Yep.
even in uh, other platforms that you wouldn't expect. And even I think there's even some embedded platforms that they're using some of those
Yep.
things in as well. So,
Yeah.
which I know you also have more experience than I do. So
There's some cool embedded platforms that are just like, well, why would I spend all this time trying to abstract all the hardware when I could just have it be a WASM interpreter and we'll just do
mm,
that instead.
right.
But yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely go into some of that. Do you want to do? I was going to ask you, do you want to do more like front end WASM or like WASI back end WASM stuff?
Yeah, I think it would be nice to start on the back end since that's where I live
Yep.
and I'm comfortable.
Yep.
Uh, and that way I kind of, because I have like a basic idea of uh, how it works and why you would have WASI.
Hmm.
Um, and but it would be great to see like where does it actually work,
Yep.
because we've talked about there's some interesting a few interesting platforms that actually let you just define these WASI or WASM components, and Golem is just one example
Yep.
that's more like Rust focused.
Yep. And
But
Fermion is too. Like they're another one
uh,
that also is Rust
Fermion, yeah,
focused.
that's the other one. I knew there was another one. I might have spelled that wrong. Oh yeah, it's like the particle probably, not like me spelling things wrong. Um, Fermion.
It's a YON.
Why? Oh, it's YON. Okay, there we go. Look at that. You're actually Googleable. Um, neat. Yeah. So I think there's some cool opportunities that, even though Nix obviously solves some of these problems as well,
Hmm.
but might make backends even simpler than. God, if I just don't have to use a Docker file. Now, I'm not saying I don't have to use a Docker file. I don't know how it
Yep.
works yet, but like if I didn't, I'd be really happy. But anyway,
Yeah. And yeah, that I think that that's a big part of it. The other one that I want to recommend, and I think that we could probably check out. This one's cool. I don't know
yeah,
how
Fermion.
employable it
Okay.
is as a skill, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
Is Xism. I just sent it in the chat.
Okay.
Um,
You know that I can't type now, so now you're sending links.
well, I
Okay.
figured it's kind of a weird name. Like
No, it
it's
is a
very
weird name.
strange.
I'm just taking the opportunity. Okay. Very cool.
So what Xism is, and just to kind of TLDR it, is it's basically a way that you can build WASM plugins. So
Mm,
you write basically they have a bunch of SDKs that you run on a host language, and then you can compile WASM modules and then run them on whatever. What's cool about Xism is they do have an OCaml runtime, so
mm,
you can install it into OCaml, like install their library, and
yeah,
then use it in OCaml, and then run like Rust code on top of, like, you can write a Rust plugin that'll run in OCaml, and
that's pretty
call
wild.
those functions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's pretty sick. I
yeah,
think that would be a lot of fun to play around with,
yeah,
and yeah, totally different way of developing applications, which I think would be cool to talk about.
yeah, for sure. Um,
Awesome.
all right, well, we'll find someone to raid, I think, and
Yeah, let's do it.
we'll plan on doing another stream soon on some WebAssembly. Let's
I think that
see
sounds awesome.
who's streaming right now.
Let's see. Do I really have no one that I follow streaming right now? Is that possible?
CM Griffing
Okay.
is.
I'm fine with
Who
Chris.
else?
We can
Is
do
there
that.
anyone else?
Let me see. Let me try refreshing. Oh, there. No, Twitch was just being dumb. I was like, I'm pretty sure I follow Chris. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think Chris is fine. We could
Oh,
we
okay.
could we do Chris. There's Hero Dev.
Yeah.
Coppinger's think sleeping.
What?
This guy named Ninjatron is streaming right now.
Weird. That's crazy.
Uh,
Nightshade. Who is Griffin F?
Griffin F. Who is Griffin F?
We'll
No,
find
he's
out.
just saying Griffin and he doesn't know how to type.
Oh,
What's Zorkenheimer
got
up
him.
to? Zorkenheimer. He's just playing. No, he's building stuff.
All right. Yeah. We'll.
Misaka? I don't know who that is.
What's Misaka
I'll let you
doing?
choose. You're the one
I don't
hosting.
know, man. I always have a hard time. Like, who am I gonna raid today? And then I just hope that one of you guys is online, and I'm like, we'll just do that.
All right, we'll see what Misaka is real quick.
Yeah.
Classic Nightshade loving VTubers. It's just a classic Nightshade VTuber. What are they even doing? I mean, it's different. I don't care.
I think
We
they're
could do it.
doing some sort
Emulation of
of.
overlays.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
fine with that. I don't
Yeah,
care.
we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess.
I think
so.
they're doing something with their VTuber setup because
Oh,
I see
cool.
open C face in there.
Oh, okay, and that's a VTuber thing.
Yeah. All right, let's do the old raid. Let's see if I can do it in one try.
I know.
Raid.
My favorite is when someone raids me. I often, instead of doing a shout out, I end up typing in raid, and then I'm raiding them right back. Like, oh shit, let me cancel that real quick.
That's a good one.
All
All right. Let's thanks for stopping by, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend. Let's raid. There we go. Raiding. There you go. Good stuff.